They had first joined Blackburn's Amateur Dramatics Gilbert and Sullivan Society because after years of service they'd been outed by their church, labelled, shunned, publicly humiliated by the congregation. Ladies who live together. This was not allowed. It wasn't deemed respectable in social circles or the Lord's. And so one had learned to disguise herself in the months that followed, to express her identity only through the medium of musical theatre, exploring the psyches of other tragedians, pirates, gondoliers, mikados and young milkmaids. The other, overly self-conscious, had learned to source and shift furniture, to paint sets and sew costumes, to bake and brew tea. This was how I met Connie. Me, a university student, home from Lancaster every Tuesday to deliver weekly theatre classes to the kids of my old neighbourhood as a cost-effective alternative and healthy alternative to sniffing glue. She'd been assigned to the youth group as treasurer, penny pincher, biscuit snatcher, chief cook and bottle washer. Me liberal, she Victorian. We were a match made in hell. 50 pence, please, in that tub. She would eye up the kids suspiciously as they arrived. I ain't got out. Very well. No biscuits for you, then. I'm not bothered. They're only them cheap ones. They always have an offer in Morrison's. Is that so? Well, no cocoa either. I won't stand for cheek. You are? You're off your head, you? Is she for real? Ursula, it's fucking freezing in there. Mazza, will you tell her? She don't know what she's on about. This was true. The theatre had a gaping hole in the roof. It had been long awaiting renovation. Pigeons had nested, and so the only real warmth was when the droppings landed on the upper part of a child's body, making them tear around like a demon possessed as they frantically tried to wipe the shit on some other unfortunate member of the company. Connie never put the heating on, even in winter. We had to dress like Inuits. Well, there's no point fundraising otherwise. She's off her head, it's freezing. Come on, Ursula, tell her she does my head in her. Enough, please. Can we just watch her language? And she is not the cat's mother. She is Miss K. Smirks would fly round, goldenly at this, followed by the inevitable. How come she's a miss? And that old biddy who always drops her off is a Ms. Sounds like a wasp, doesn't it, Ursula? Ms. Is it a mate? I don't know. Doesn't really matter though, does it? Can we get on, please? Is it a cousin? A sister? Do you think it's a sister, Ursula? No, I don't think it's a sister, and I don't think you think it's a sister. But can we get on? Because it really doesn't matter. It does though, doesn't it? Because she's a leather. My dad says that if you're ugly or you're a mzz, you're a leather. You're a lesbione. You're a now look here, you whippersnapper. The kids have done it again. And look here, all of you. Oh, it's absolutely none of anybody else's business. Miss Astridge and I are simply ladies who live together. And that is all any of you young scallywags need to know. The kitchen door would promptly slam, pots and pans and crockery would fly and smash. Oh, thank you, everybody. Connie, please, you know they only do it to wind you up. Please don't let it get to you. Come on, Connie, calm down. No cocoa for anybody. Oh, come on, Connie, that's really harsh. It's freezing in the theatre. Please. You know how it is. Most of them are taught such damn skew with views at home. It's a job and a half to get them to break the mould. Please. I said no cocoa. Oh, Connie. Mum, will you nip to Morrison's, please, and get some cocoa? Just cocoa, Connie. Yeah, I understand no biscuits for anybody because they've been rude, but it really is below zero. It's Baltic. Right, everybody, into the theatre. Avoid the pigeons and onto the stage. Let's see if we can cheer Miss Kay up with a sing-song. Right, let's sing Down and Out, please, page 69. Don't go there. Share if you don't have a photocopy, watch my lips if you can't read. Okay? Let's take it from verse 2. You don't have to sit around depressed about the way that life deceived you. After 4, after a lengthy and shivery committee meeting, me, chair, Mum's secretary, Connie, treasurer, pigeons floating members, it was agreed upon, well actually it was voted, that Bugsy Malone would be the best choice of a production. From where I stood, it was a no-brainer. Because Bugsy Malone was set in 1920s Hoodlum, New York, it required little in the way of sets. A few bust-up chairs and tables, of which we had plenty, and perhaps a bit of graffiti, which my kids were skilled at. Mum was for it, because it would allow her to relive the frighteningly un-PC show days of the 1950s. But Connie was against, because, well, it isn't GNS. Her stance was, should you have the good sense to approach D'Oyly Cart, the Adult Society may assist you in fundraising for the heating you say you need, and, to my mind, money better spent on a large pair of attractive curtains. Never let the kids hear you say that. Unfortunately, when I approached the adult company, they claimed that they couldn't help us out at all because they were in the red and they had the gaping hole in the roof to contend with. I plumbed for the crowd pleaser, went for Bugsy Malone. Organised for a talent show to be held to raise the necessary funds, at least for some splurge guns, which, for those of you who don't know incidentally, are pretend weapons which stew custard pies. They're what make the show of Bugsy Malone a hit with kids all over the world. Connie's attractive curtains, like the gaping hole in the roof, would sadly have to be overlooked. So on the evening of the Ms. query, a date was set for the talent show. Connie worked it out that splurge gun hire will come to £250 plus £1.72 return bus fare to Cone. This meant that we would have to charge tickets at £3 a head, £1.50 concessions. It also meant that we would have to run an auction rather than a raffle to raise the funds we need and get everyone who could to donate something legal. It also meant we would all have to perform something worth buying tickets for. Mum set the benchmark, bless her, by offering to dress up as a minstrel and get the audience going with a little chirpy honky-tonk on the piano. I offered a recitation of Albert and the Lion, and the kids, without exception, offered various Spice Girl tracks and Take That It's, complete with gyrations, pelvic thrusts and zig-a-zig-ahs. Connie, as I anticipated she would, assured us that she would prefer to stay behind the scenes. I will take the money on the door and serve cocoa and biscuits to those who ask me nicely. I will also, however, with Ms. Astridge's permission, donate a substantial prize which you may auction. It can be dedicated to the winner, but please ensure it remains at the theatre. It sounded ominous, but I knew better than to argue, especially when, on the evening of the talent show, Connie and Melita came struggling, lugging it in, nimbly hopping past the pigeons and heaving it onto the stage. A brown paper parcel, oversized, tightly bound, awkward, bursting to get out. Half a dozen relight my fires and a few, if you want to be my lovers, later. I was getting worried. Though the talent show was well attended, most of our audience were OAPs or under 5, so had managed to wangle the ticket for a mere £1.50. Connie wasn't on the ball. Apparently Melita had opted to perform as part of the finale. Oh, I mean, the kids would surely crucify her. They kept roaring at me. The success of the evening would all depend on the auction. That are a miracle. Divine intervention from the hole above our heads. Mum began the bidding, still kitted out as a minstrel, vowing to the audience as she tried to palm their own bric-a-brac back on them, "Ladies and gentlemen, please give generously. We still have a mystery guest to top off tonight's talent show." The chocolates and flowers that local businesses had donated, they raised a good sum. Shell suits and dreadlock dollies, less so. But they all added up. So the time came for the revealing of Connie and Melita's mystery package. I opened it. My eyes nearly popped out my head when I saw what it was. A limited edition gold frame print entitled After the Ball by Alfred Stevens. It was a painting of two 19th century ladies clasped in a loving embrace after an evening of dancing. It was beautiful, exquisite. Who the hell would buy it? Do I hear a 50? Well, thank you, ma'am. And what about 100, sir? 100. The audience were well into it, that or my mum's dodgy accent. But the main bidder was a guy from the local brewery, Thwaites. Thwaites having expressed an interest in keeping the upkeep of the theatre. He just kept on driving and driving. 200, sir. 225, ma'am. Sir, could I push you to 100, 250 pounds? Could you find it in your heart to give 250 pounds? Have this artwork forever dedicated in your name and help these little children get their guns. She was doing really well, but I thought she was scraping the barrel there. Going, hot diggity, it's gone to the man who likes his beer. Ladies who live together. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please keep your round of applause going for our mystery guest this evening by way of the finale from the Adult Gilbert and Sullivan Society, performing as a dance in authentic Japanese style. Miss Melita Astridge with The Sun, the Moon, and I from the Mikado. I was cringing in the wings. I peeked round the flats, the curtainless flats, and saw that Connie had crept in from the kitchen. She was shaking uncontrollably, obviously been stood there while the painting had been bid for. Tittering, the kids laughing and jeering could be heard audibly as Mum leapt onto the piano and with an elegant flourish began to play Melita in. But a few bars on, everything quietened. You could have heard a pin drop. Just the gentle cooing of the birds up above. With every intricate gesture, every stylized move, with youthful grace that transformed her, Melita told and danced a story. She was beautiful, like the ladies in the paintings. She borrows light that through the night mankind may all attain her. And sure to tell she lights up well, so I for one don't blame her. Oh, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I. Oh, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I. As she finished, the audience began to applaud rapturously. Some of them stood, and I peeked behind the flats again and caught Connie roughly wiping a tear from her cheek with the sleeve of the cardigan before sloping off back into the kitchen and her pots and pans. For the rest of the evening, unlike her partner who giggled like a schoolgirl and curtsied ceremoniously when anyone came to congratulate her, Connie rolled her eyes heavenwards, shook her head and mumbled under her breath and carried on with her sweeping. She refused point blank to have a photo taken with the fellow from the brewery, and her parting shot to me as we laughed were, "Fancy guns and no curtains, all show and no knickers." I was still contemplating the cack-handed wisdom an hour later when the phone rang at home. Mum answered it. It was Connie, but she was distressed. She sounded different. Could you please come at your earliest convenience? Miss Astrid and I are in need of our friends. It transpired that while they'd been at the theatre for the talent show, local thugs had broken in through the windows, smashed the place up good and proper this time. Hadn't taken anything, only money and bits of jewellery, but had spray-painted insults and obscenities all over the walls, had ripped up their records and made rags of their clothes. By the time we appeared on the scene, both women were ashen. The police had said the window would have to be left on the off chance that they could find fingerprints in the morning, but we could start clearing the debris and repainting if we wanted to. It was so sad, so cruel. Their Edwardian terrace had been immaculate, brim-filled with fine art, period costumes, classical music, sculptures that celebrated the female form, their refined taste, their unmistakable affection for one another. It was heartbreaking. In that house was everything I could and would ever wish for. Now it was gone, because they lived in a town that continued to openly persecute and ostracise same-sex couples. Little was said about the incident at rehearsals in the weeks that followed. It seemed that Connie didn't want to or simply couldn't talk about it. She'd been pushed beyond the limit and had subsequently shut down. We could only anticipate that Melita was feeling the same. But a week to go before Bugsy Malone was due to go on, Connie gathered us all, kids and everyone, at biscuit break. Tapping a teacup with a silver spoon, she announced somberly in a way that made the pigeons pay attention. I regret to inform you that Ms. Astridge and I will not be here to see the show next week. An opportunity has arisen for us to relocate over to the Fylde, and after some consideration, we've decided to take it. I have ordered that in my absence the splurge guns be sent to Ms. Ursula's. I am confident that the money you will raise next week in cocoa and biscuits will tally the £2.20 taxi fare this will incur. It has been a pleasure to serve you cocoa and biscuits, some of you, over the last year or so. On behalf of my partner, Ms. Astridge, I wish you every success with Bugsy Malone and any other experiences you may have with Doily Cart in the future. But the kids got it. They looked well guilty. The little cogs whizzed round in their heads as they figured out the whys and hows, the part they might have played. It hadn't escaped me that some of them had older brothers and dads who were well known for breaking and entering at a moment's notice. But when I'd asked them to keep their ears to the ground, they'd stood thick as thieves. The rest of the evening passed subdued. We waved Connie and Melita off in silence. But at the dress rehearsal, the following week, a parcel arrived at the theatre, addressed to me and Mum. It was heavy, obviously material. Costume? We'd no budget for any. We opened it and instantly I recognised patchworks. Patchworks from the kimono that Melita had worn the evening of the talent show. Other perfectly stitched squares from the rags that Mum and I had salvaged that fateful night at their house after the auction. We called the kids together and as a company we held out 2 square feet rectangles. From their own wreckage, Connie had sewn us a pair of attractive curtains. I sent a thank you card the day after the show, enclosed a little photograph of the kids poised with the wretched guns, looking for all the world like hoodlums. framed by the patchwork curtains and the colourful graffiti. Mum on the piano was a razzmatazz. The show had been a roaring success. So much so that the brewery had offered to renovate the theatre after all. But, I explained, the front of house team had struggled. That was me. And the money hadn't quite tallied. Mum kept in touch after that. Fed it back to me that the women had finally found a place where they could belong. Connie had taken up sequence dancing with Melita and was busy raising money for guide dogs for the blind and the Lifeboat Association. It seemed that through letters, Connie could express herself in a way that she simply couldn't do in person. And by the same token, my mum opened up to her, though she never said what. Only once she let slip as I brought her back from a visit. It's so hard, Ursula, isn't it? To dare to be different, you know. To live by your own lights in the way that Connie and Melita have done all these years. I suppose that's why so many of us didn't. It just wasn't the done thing in my day. I'm glad for you that times are changing. As times continue to change, Connie and Melita were granted a civil partnership. That same year, Mazza, my mum, contracted lung cancer, terminal. She didn't suffer any pain and played the piano till she died. A funeral was arranged to be held at the newly refurbished Thwaites Theatre, all done up doily cart style. Me and my sister put photographs celebrating her show days all over the billboards. Her as a minstrel, her as an illusionist assistant, her as a showgirl, and finally as a razzmatazz with the youth theatre. All the cards and wishes from girlfriends who couldn't be there to see her off scattered around. But one in particular caught my eye, for it was identical to the beautiful painting that hung pride of place in the theatre lobby. After the Ball, by Alfred Stevens. I took it outside to read. As the pigeons listened attentively from the new home in the entrance porch and mouthed the words aloud. Mrs. Astridge and I are so very sorry to hear of the premature death of your mother. She was a charming individual and our very dear friend. We trust that you will understand why we cannot be with you today and hope that you will want to come and see us soon. Please know that at 3 p.m, Mrs. Astridge and I will be raising our glasses and wishing the sun, the moon, and I for you and your sister. It was signed off, the ladies who live together. I went and visited. I've been a few times during the last decade, and I said to you, Rigby, today, didn't I, that I'm due another visit soon. And they've always left me wondering when I came away, in a way that I think they did my mum and anyone who took the time to really get to know them. Is it not our duty as human beings to be true to who we really are in every aspect of our lives? If we deny that instinct, are we not likely to become diseased or depressed? Even if the pursuit of that desire should cause us hurt or ridicule. I haven't quite got the answers yet. I'm still pondering. But one thing I have learned, that those who remain true to their soul in matters of the heart live fuller and lovelier lives than those who live a lie. I learned this from Connie and her beloved wife, Ms. Astridge, now newlyweds, the ladies who live together. And though they are well into their 90s, somewhere on the Fylde, as far as I know, they still do.
Mm.